Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Lorelei Shimayo, and this is Me We Fairs for energizing body, mind, heart, and soul. We have events throughout the Northwest, many online. Today is our online awakening panel. Today's theme is the occult and the paranormal. There are 6 of us on the panel tonight that will be sharing about the theme. We'll introduce ourselves, tell you about our background, talk about this work and how we share in this body of work and what this body of work is, how so many of us are practicing it by all kinds of different names now. And we'll be answering questions from the audience. We're excited to answer your questions. It would be great if you explore what personal question you would want to ask us, just like you would sitting in a private session. The benefit of being here on the panel is that you get answers from probably everyone on the panel, and it is a very small price compared to doing a private session with us. The exchange is that you get to share your answers with everyone that's here, so we all learn from what we're sharing with you. It's a great opportunity to practice opening your intuition. Just so much happening tonight. So we'll first have you meet the practitioners so you see who's on the panel, and we'll talk a bit about the theme. So let's just mix it all together, everyone, since so many of you do work that's so integral to this theme. So go ahead, talk about yourself and the theme, and we'll come back and do a second round too. So if there's more that you want to share, you'll have another chance. All right, and you got 2 or 3 minutes or so, and you were in all one. I'm showing this. I'm not in my regular office, so if you're heading over your like 3-ish minutes of share, I'll just do a version of this to let you know to finish up and come on around. All right. Well, Lorelei, let's have you start off.
Well, hello, my name is Lorelei Hewitt. I'm a modern mystic that practices ancient Nordic shamanic traditions. I have been a practicing mystic / shaman for almost 20 years, and I have done hundreds of spirit release, spirit depossession, curse unravelings, house clearings, and I've had some pretty extraordinary experiences. So I'm excited to share my knowledge and experience with you and help put you at ease with some of this stuff, because it's very natural. It's just a part of the human experience. It's just the way we are. We're multidimensional beings, and interacting with that is a wonderful way to feel at ease in our lives.
Thanks so much. Sorry, I got distracted. We had a little bomber there hanging out somewhere. I feel like there's more you could share about your work. I guess what I know it's quick. Maybe share a little bit of just about your history and how did you discover that this was part of what you do, and just how did you grow in your capacity to share this in the world?
Oh, sure. So my teacher, my primary teacher for this, is a woman named Betsy Bergstrom, who lives in the Seattle area. And I started doing this work when I was meditating, and then in my meditations, I was experiencing a lot of intensive spasms. So I went to an energy healer, and when I was on the table with him, I started spontaneously channeling and talking. So then he sent me to Betsy Bergstrom, who's a medium, and she helped release the being that was inside me that was causing the spasms in my meditations. And then I started studying with her and learning how to handle all of this.
Guys, stop this stupid shit!
Oh boy. Okay. This is going to be a fun evening. So let's just clear the space for that right now, and just allow that everything that's going to be spoken here is spoken with compassion and respect.
Sorry, Lorelei, just hold on a second. Sorry, I'm having trouble figuring out. Does anyone know who was speaking? They're like in here and
Adam, but he just left, or you
they did just leave. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. All right. One moment again. Okay. You should be fine. Go ahead, Lorelei.
I was going to say these topics can actually be really triggering for people, and that they're which is really unfortunate. It's just a natural part of being human, the interaction with the unseen. And I do want to just sort of clear the air, clear the space, and just allow that everything that's spoken here will be spoken with compassion and respect, and with an open heart and a curious mind, that to help us all really wonder about what is out there, what is in here, what is there that we can't see but we can feel, and let there be love in our hearts, and just invite all of our spirit guides and angelic helpers to be close to us for this topic. So that being said,
And someone else did the spasm stop. So the story that you were sharing.
oh yes, yeah, they did, actually, they did. I don't know if I want to go into that in too much detail, but sometimes when people first start channeling, also they can have a lot of spasmodic problems, because the spirits will have a very different energy than the physical body. And also, if you have any blocks or resistance to any of that, it hits that block and you kind of jerk a lot. So clearing all that out through energy work and through a lot of mediumship training. A lot of times people that have overshadowing spirits are dysfunctional psychics, actually. And getting trained for that is really helpful. And it's I don't know, it's not that big of a deal. It's really, really not. Anyway, I don't want to keep talking too long here.
It's great. Thank you so much, Lorelei. Kai.
What are we talking about?
What's that?
Hi, I'm Kai Bertrand.
Very
And
good. Very good. Very good. Very good.
Oh, Dovelight, sorry.
yeah.
Go ahead, Kai. Start over again.
That's okay. I'm Kai Bertrand. I'm a Hawaiian Kahuna, which is the Hawaiian version of a shaman. And like I said earlier, I do a lot of the same things that Lorelei Hewitt does. We just come from different traditions. In my case, what started me on this whole path was my mom actually knew what I was before I did, because she knew that I could see spirits and ghosts and other things, which to this day, I don't even have names for, from before I could walk and talk. She was actually using me as kind of like a test for people when she wasn't sure about them when I was a baby. One of the stories that she told me was my brother's first wife. Whenever I saw her, I would just start screaming my head off. So she couldn't ever come in the house, and no one understood what was going on with that. And then later on, when I was able to talk, I was telling my mom what I was seeing, and then she understood what it was. So she actually knew that I was going to be a kahuna years before I did. I didn't actually start practicing to be a kahuna until probably about, I think it was like 20 years ago. And then that's when I started the official journey. But even then I wasn't really doing any training or anything like that. And then I had gone to Hawaii, or should I say, I'd gone back to Hawaii to visit. And I met a kahuna, and she said, "You're already doing everything a kahuna does. Just call yourself a kahuna and call it good." So I said, "Oh, okay." So that's, so it wasn't officially until like 2016 that I took on the label of kahuna. But before then, I was doing everything a kahuna normally does, which is help spirits go on their way, banishing things, calling spirits back into, because sometimes when people get really depressed or they have a lot of problems, like their spirits leave their bodies. And part of my job is to call it back so they can come back into their bodies. Or they go journeying and they go too far and they can't get their way back. And so part of my job is to go search for them and call them back. All of that kind of falls into the paranormal, the supernatural, and the occult. And so for me, my objective is to take the fear out of all of that, so people understand that it's just, yeah, like Lorelei said, it's a part of who we are. It's part of our existence. It's not a thing that happens out there somewhere in this mysterious darkness. It's something that happens like right where you are. It's a process that's happening in your body at all times. And so if you can acknowledge that, that takes the fear out of it. And it also, at the same time, because energy is both light and dark, if you can remove the fear from it, you remove power from the dark, if that makes sense. So that's what I'm interested in doing, is focusing on the light. And by doing that, we dispel fear.
Thanks so much, Kai. Great, Ashvin.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ashvin. I am an empath and I am an intuitive. I have been doing readings for over 20 years, and I have been an empath and intuitive all of my life. So I've had interactions with what you could call the other side my entire life. I've also had the opportunity to learn from some very qualified and skilled psychics, mediums, and channelers. And today, I hope to be able to answer some questions. We are all souls, spirits in bodies. We live on a unique planet as a unique species that deals with amnesia when we are born, so that we can have a true focus on what we would like to experience here on Earth. But the flip side of that is we have amnesia. And so when paranormal things happen, which are quite normal, we go, whoa, what is that? And we don't understand it. So my hope today is that I, along with the rest of the panel, are able to answer your questions and bring some more understanding to what's going on in your lives. I additionally also am an artist. I do work with abstracts, with acrylics on canvas, and I have recently also got into AI art. AI is an interesting one. It is just, the interaction with it is really interesting. It's almost like when you focus on it and try to instruct it to give you something specific, for example, channeling a specific piece of art for a person, what comes through seems to ring true for the person. It's like any other art. You present it to the person. You as an artist may look at that and go, oh, that looks good. But when somebody else looks at it and they find themselves in it, the piece of art really comes alive. I do have a few pieces.
No bragging.
He's not
Okay.
bragging. His work's beautiful. Go ahead, keep going.
And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick and show you just a few pieces that I have. These, I believe, are just 3 pieces that I have. So real quick, here's an example. There's an example. And there is an example. All right, well, thank you very much. I look forward to answering questions.
Yeah, that's great. And the piece behind you is also one of yours, right? Yeah, great,
Yes.
great.
Thanks.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much for the information in the chat. And just a moment, everyone. People disappearing and hiding on us. All right. Did the person leave or rename themselves? All right. Well, if someone else sees that there's a bomber here, let me know. All right, great. I think Troy is next.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be here. So a little bit about me. I'm a walk-in from Sirius and other star systems too. I had a walk-in experience at the end of 2020 on November 11th, and so that changed my life. But before that, I was always a starseed anyway, or my walkout was, it's kind of like we're a parallel soul, I've learned, kind of a tag team. So that's me. On top of that, my walk-in aspect comes in with more of a Nordic paganism interest or affinity. And so that's one of my modalities. And I think I may qualify as a Norn or fall in that category, because in my life as a pagan and a Norse pagan, like around Norway or Sweden, I was trained as a Viking warrior from a childhood age, but I didn't want to just be a warrior. I also wanted to learn the magic of the culture, but that was frowned upon at that time, but I learned it anyway. So that's a bit of what I do. I use runes for an oracle, and as a psychic, I'm just naturally psychic. Even my walkout was fairly intuitive and empathic, and I tend to connect with spirits by distance, ghosts included. And just last month, I was yet in another, this is kind of a series I'm doing, another psychic reading for our land in Virginia. that is heavily haunted, basically, but especially with the deceased souls of miners, many of who don't know they're dead. And so it's connecting with them from a specific mine where there's an explosion once. There were 6 miners on record that died in that explosion, and 2 of them I sensed had already crossed over, moved on in some way. The other 4, though, I had to inform that they were dead. That was kind of a shock to them, but also a relief. And so then I allowed them the opportunity to be freed. I don't force crossing over to any spirits. I need to communicate with them and allow them their free will. But I do also communicate with the Deva of the land and get their permission. And it's like very consensual process to kind of help clear up the grids of the earth as part of what I do. And so where there are deceased spirits, I communicate with them and get to know them, what happened, and often feel too what they felt and see a bit of what happened, which can be quite intense, and especially that explosion was a bit graphic. Anyway, yeah, then I bring in my light, especially from my soul and my own sort of signature of Reiki, and then I can help them cross over, sometimes with the assistance of the local fairies too. And so that's a bit of what I do, especially related to the more paranormal, what is related to this topic tonight, paranormal and occult. What's called occult, still kind of questioned and frowned upon by some in the mainstream society, but I know many are still currently waking up to it, this fact. Also, as a hypnotherapist and Reiki healer in this life, those are just my certifications, really, but I also think of hypnotherapy as one of the forms of modern clinical shamanism, because it really is. Hypnosis has been a gateway, I've learned, to access the spirit world through deeper access of the subconscious, which is connected to the spirit world, but also healing of that. And so kind of all goes together, but yeah, all of that is me. That's some of me anyway. And so I think of myself as a type of shaman or shamanic type of healer, but I don't necessarily use that title. Someone did dub me the ethereal engineer, though, so I quite like that. But I believe it's all very similar, especially the Norn caste, the more shamanic spiritual caste of the Nordic pagans. That is what I'm into, and so I'm still learning about that, but recovering that too.
Great.
Thank you, and I
Thanks so
hope to
much.
answer more questions.
Great. Thanks so much, Troy. Dovelight.
Thank you for clapping, Robert Hunter. My honor and blessings to be in your presence. My honor and blessings to be here. To Samantha Carlinson. My honor and blessings to be in your presence. Thank you so much for being here together. We are in a beautiful time when the veil is very thin. It changed by culture. It changed by Leslie R. It changed by tradition, but if you see around the world at this time, there's very sacred times. This is a time when you can feel or dream most about your loved ones that pass away. And it's part of the paranormal. Well, here they call it paranormal, but because we are in Western cities, like we're not used to talk about this. We don't have a safe space or a guidance sometimes, but that doesn't mean that your connection with spirit or your heart calling upon the traditions that your DNA knows can come back. So with that being said, I would love to start this with a song or a prayer because it's a sacred time. It's a very sacred time. I hate this. Thank you. Yeah. Sorry about this. This is something that happens very, very a lot with a lot of light. Some people don't understand that the more light you carry, the more shadow it comes, because this is a planet of duality. So when you're in the spiritual path, or you're really more conscious about it, it doesn't mean your life is perfect. It doesn't mean everything is good. It just means that you have the strength and the light and the clarity with maturity to keep going. Abuelitos, abuelitas, abuelitos, ¿dónde están? Aquí estoy, aquí estoy. Abuelitos en las estrellas, aquí estoy. Abuelita, abuelito, angelito, angelita, aquí estoy. Aquí estoy. Grandfathers, grandmothers, angels, power animals, teachers, Mother Earth, Father Sky, ancestors, our pets, our loved ones, past, present, and future, together as one. We take a moment to say thank you for the gift of life. Thank you for our good health. Thank you for the eyes that see. Thank you for the food that we can eat. Thank you for our waters, for our children's, because among the difficult things that are happening within the world, each of everyone here who's present, who generally has a deep journey to reconnect to their soul and their light, are actually a light for this world. Never take for granted any prayer. Never take for granted the little actions, the little choices that you can do to make a better world in this planet. Because working with a spirit, being with a spirit, means living your human life. And thank you so much to all. Thank you so much to your ancestors, and thank you so much for this beautiful panel. Whichever way it might come, so be it, so it is. Yeah, and you can find me at dovelightoracle.com. You know, I have a passion for readings, and you know, I love reading for people and connecting to the divine. Thank you, everybody.
It's great, Dovelight. Thank you. And maybe before you go off, did you want to share a little bit? You've changed the background that you have. Did you want to share anything about the meaning of the background for you and the?
Well, we, as many names we call what we know as God, as many traditions, it changed in the cultures how we honor the people who pass away. For example, in our traditions, shamanic traditions, in most of them, Mesoamerican and South American, even North America, there is no such a thing as real death, because we live connected to spirit. So the body comes back to the earth and your spirit continue their journey. But at this time, if you see the background, the owl, it's one of the symbols of when the owl sings. It sometimes is letting you know that somebody might transcend or pass away. It might change by tradition. Other cultures is wisdom, seen through the darkness. But today is representing the death. Death as transformation. Death as sometimes there is things that in our life, death is necessary. Death is part of life. Nothing to be afraid or fear. That's something that they taught us. But the same way that we are born, one day, the same way we will die. So sometimes this is not only physical death per se. Sometimes there are habits, negative thinking, things that need to die within your life. They need to let it go so we can give space to burn something new. I also have the utumaro or el pájaro bruja, which is another bird that represents the underworld. And we see the underworld as challenges that help us grow, and so we can have more wisdom and more light. But these two are traditional birds from the Americas that represent the death or changes that needs to be done, especially when we listen to their sounds. I don't know if Zooms is gonna allow me, but go like, That's how the urutaro, the one with black eyes, sings. And these are nocturnal nocturnal birds, which means that within the darkness, they can find their way. Within the darkness, they can find their wisdom. For you to be born as a human being, you have to be in the darkness of your mommy womb for 9 months. So there is always this beautiful polarity and duality of life and death, darkness and light. And behind that, you can see the candles. There is a cemetery because people usually right now in most Mesoamerican countries and in some of the Americas, they're in the cemetery. They're singing at the cemetery. They're putting sacred fire at the cemetery between November 1st and 2nd. They're like there with the offerings so the souls can eat the spirits of the food. It's a lot of copal, a lot of smudging. It's very beautiful. And the middle thing is the ancient Mayan, one of the glyphs or symbols of the ancient Maya calendar from the Cholquij. It again is a Keme, which means death and transformation. A little bit. I hope I didn't speak too fast because sometimes I get so excited. I hope you guys understand something that I say. Okay, now I'm done.
That was great. Thank you so much. I'm so glad I asked. Yeah, beautiful. All right. And I'm Lorelei Shimayo. I'm an intuitive eye reader, body psychology coach, and matchmaker. And I don't play in the language as much. And so as a scientist, I looked up to some of the terms. So describe just the way, just a simple dictionary definition of things. But so paranormal, denoting events or phenomena such as telekinesis or clairvoyance that are beyond the scope of normal scientific understanding. So to me, that really includes like all of metaphysics. I think of physics and what science understands now, and metaphysics and all the things that we practitioners practice in this large field. And then occult, supernatural, mystical, or magical beliefs, practices, or phenomena, alchemy. So again, all these things that we practice, all these different approaches. They're words that have come to be a little heavy or weird in our society. They're more modern words, or maybe are more specific to different practices, just terms, specific words that we use, and really they're all so related. So I'm an intuitive. I pick up things that to me seem just so obvious because I see them so easily. I did study and train and learn to read people's eyes. And to me, it's just so clear and obvious when I see people now. I pick up so much about people. I think of it as reading their souls through their eyes. I'm able to sense into who people are in a deeper core. I pick up all kinds of wounding and lessons. And I use a set of archetypes, and there is a map and a model. And if you look at all the different combinations of the archetypes that I look at, there are more combinations than there are people alive. So on the one hand, it is a simple system. It is a map. It gives us direction. And at the same time, it's complex and picks up all kinds of nuance. I pick up things from the archetypes and that system, and I'm also picking up things in all kinds of ways that I don't fully know. Yeah, I love to help people better understand themselves, their journey, come to honor themselves more, love themselves, and make choices that are in alignment with who they are and their path. I do that in terms of career work, relationships they're in, helping them find new relationships for whatever they're up to. I love to use it for romantic matchmaking. I think that it's a great way to grow by being with a partner that's similar, who is a soulmate, someone who has a similar soul. I'm thrilled to be here. I learn from all the panels that I have, and it's a great one for me to be on too. So let's see. So who won the panels? Is there anything else you want to share about yourself and your background or the theme? And we're available to answer questions if someone would like to have us answer a question. It's great if it's a personal question. There's information in the chat. We request that you pay first, and I'm happy to facilitate that process more. And but yeah, so panelists, anything else you want to share about yourselves and the theme before we jump in? See if anyone does. Okay. Great. I guess, Lorelei, did you say enough about Nordic shamanism in your intro? I think the way someone else mentioned, oh, you're muted. Someone else mentioned related things, and it just made me think of you, and I didn't know if you'd shared.
Yeah, my tradition comes from the Northern European region, and I have staffs here because I'm a staff carrier in my tradition, and we sing songs, stand in circles out in nature or in a big enough indoor space, and drop into a trance by singing songs, and we'll send out blessings or do divination work through that trance work, through a practice called St.A.A.R.R. I do rune readings, and you can see the rune map back here that my friend Shelley made for me. She's here in the audience today too. So shout out to Shelley for some excellent cross-stitching work. But the runes are Nordic alphabet, and each letter has a phonetic as well as an energetic meaning. And I throw the stones and do readings in that way, but that's usually at the fairs. That's not really the private sessions that I do. This time of year is kind of fun. We will, my friends and I will get together and do what's called a wild hunt. Wild hunt is probably one of the oldest known ceremonies from what I've been able to glean anyway. And it is the belief that when the winds blow and when things are moving, that the spirits are moving and the gods are moving, and they're kind of gathering up the souls that have not crossed over. So we'll have a wild hunt in a ceremony where we will invite intentionally any of the spirits that have not crossed over this time of year. We'll do that. There's a couple of times a year that we'll do this. And then we invite lots of different angelic beings, psychopomp beings, to help all the spirits move and cross over. The last one I did right at the beginning of the pandemic was kind of cool because I lived in a different house than I do now, and at the next morning, the end of the ceremony, a whole bunch of other weird stuff happened. I won't get into that. The really lovely thing, though, was that my office door was open and it's always locked. And there on the floor was just a black card with gold letters that said, "Thank you." I have no idea where that came from. Everybody asked for, nobody knew where that came from. My office is completely, it's at the other end of the physical space that we were working in. People were not going back there. So anyway, weird stuff happens. It's wonderful. It's fun.
All right, great. Thank you so much for sharing a bit about that. All right, and I think we've got one person in line for a question already. So let me say a few things before we jump in and start doing that. So I mentioned briefly earlier too, this is a great opportunity to learn from all that's asked and all that's answered, whether or not you ask a question. It's a great opportunity to practice opening your intuition. For all of you that are watching, I recommend that you have something you can take notes with. You might scribble, draw, write words, whatever shows up for you. It's a great opportunity to capture what your attention goes to, and it might be something on that side of the room or something on the screen or out the window. It might have something to do with the information that's coming through all of us for the person that asked the question. And if you know you're intuitive, it's a great way to practice and strengthen your skills to get confirmation that you're tapping into the same things that we are. And if you're new to this, it's a great way to see that you're intuitive and connecting to things that you might not realize. It's a way that we all grow stronger doing panels together, is hearing each other share. It's really great. If you do have something come through you for the person that's asking a question, we do request that you hold that until we're done answering their question. And then you're welcome to write them in private chat and ask them if they'd like to hear what came through you that might be for them. And please honor whatever they prefer. Feel free to share if they want that. And and trust that it came through you for some other reason if they don't. All right, so I'm guessing maybe, is it Minnie? Are you the one that was wanting to ask a question, I'm guessing? You got your video on or no? So who is EMT? Oh, all right, great. Did you want to come up on stage? Engelbert, is that you? And if you want to come up here, just okay, great.
Okay, hello, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, great, we can hear you.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for your interest in asking a question tonight.
Yes, thank you for having this space for us. My question is general and also very specific in that I would like to know from the panel if I am on the right path related to the Pacific Northwest, whatever that means, and where I might be at next. So I'm just kind of in a transition phase, and I was curious to know a little bit more about why I'm having these intense feelings about the Pacific Northwest. That's all.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for your question. And panelists, if you have any other questions for Engelbert, feel free to ask those or work with what we've been presented.
Are you in the Pacific Northwest right now, or where are you?
I'm physically in the state of Nevada, so that's where I am, but energetically and just in terms of my spirit, in terms of opportunity, in terms of this future state, I'm definitely connected to the Pacific Northwest. And I used to live in the Seattle area, and it wasn't a good experience for me many, many years ago. And so I'm considering returning back to the Oregon area, to the Portland area. And I have a lot of, I guess, residual trauma or some sort of aversion. And then so I just was curious what anyone might have thought about why I'm having those strong feelings right now about this time.
Okay, because the first thing that I got, the reason why I asked where you physically were is that I feel like it's a it's a past life thing. Like you've done this many times. Like you've come to the Pacific Northwest and you left, and you come back and you left, and you come back and you left. And so it feels like there's a cycle that needs to be broken. I feel like you would do well here, but because I'm in the Pacific Northwest area, but you have to figure out what that energy is. That it's almost like when you come here, it's like this is where you're supposed to be here, but at the same time, there's an energy here that drives you away. So we need to figure out what that is and why it's there. And it feels like it's something in the past. So I don't know if it's like I keep getting like something like having to do with either the shipping or mining or some kind of labor type work that you were doing at one point in your soul's journey. And then something happened, and then it was like super traumatic, so you left, but then you're like, but I really like this place. And I think that you would thrive in the Pacific Northwest if you could break that cycle, is what I'm getting.
Okay. Thank you. It's really insightful.
So I got a bit too. I heard some things. So I'll agree that it is past life with you. You've lived lives in especially Washington, I feel like part of Oregon too, but I heard it may take some exploring around this area. Trust your instincts of where you're drawn to, and explore and see what you feel and what comes up for you. I'm sensing that as you do this, you will probably have some unexpected, spontaneous past life remembrances of specific places you go to. Definitely it is unfinished business, and a lot of it has to do with connections with parts of the land that you worked with or worked on, and especially your personal connection within your subconscious and psyche. You may need to work with someone or some people to get help understanding and working through some of that comes up and releasing that. Oh, and I also was told for you to trust the omens. There will be omens set up on your path for you to listen to. There'll be obvious, unlikely signs.
I just saw an owl this week, which is interesting. I've never seen an owl in the daylight, so that was definitely a sign. So thank you for that.
That's lovely. Yeah, owls definitely represent vision and wisdom. So yeah, they speak to you.
It was kind of an interesting space, because it was in my backyard, and I was just going back there and I felt a presence, and then I looked and it was right on my fence. It was really beautiful, beautiful moment, but definitely informative. It informed me. So it was really nice to see the owls tonight. So thank you for that.
Great. I think Lorelei's got something else to share.
Can I ask you, Engelbert, where you're from?
I'm first generation. I'm born here in the Redwood City area, in the Bay Area, but my parents are both from different countries. My mother is from Guatemala, from Central America, and my father, he's from Austria. So we're definitely an interesting bunch. So there's that side as well. Definitely multicultural.
Yeah. I guess, I have to be honest, the first thing that hit me was that yes, I could see you coming here to work some things out, but I don't know that unsettled feeling is going to go away. And I was seeing the East. I'm seeing the East Coast of all things. I don't know if you've ever considered that, but there is the energy lines on the East Coast are tighter. They are more about money, I suppose, more about stuff in a way, but there's a tightness to them here, especially with volcanic and tectonic activity. They're very wobbly and wonky, and if we're not super fluid with them, then it can cause us to feel a little out of sorts and imbalanced. There's something, I don't know if you've done any lineage work, but I feel like there's definitely something, and maybe it's the Austrian thing from the East that I'm being pulled to, that would really benefit you to have a good talk with that side of your family mediumistically, doing the ancestor work. I think help you then be able to be more flexible. Like there's something that that is how can I put this? It's like that, the wobbliness of the land here and the heavy rains can cause. Oh yeah, wow. So you've got in your blood, you've got the sunshine and you've got the rain, like this kind of, there's a reconciliation that would be really helpful in really doing this ancestral work for you, this lineage work, and the deities that your bloodline has. I think they need to, I think that would probably help you feel more settled than anything else. And then you'll find your tribe a lot more easily, because it'll be people that the magical, mystical people that have similar interests to you. And so I don't know if the East Coast is drawing my attention because of the hardness of the line, the stability of that line, or if it's because of the Austrian thing. So anyway.
Wow, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thanks so much, Lorelei. It looked like Dovelight was getting ready. Are you ready, or
yeah, I was trying. Yes, buenas, Maltiosh, Chave, ahau. Can you repeat your question just to hear your voice, if you don't mind?
Oh yes, of course. I was asking about kind of the space I'm in right now, why there might be this intensity that I've been feeling, and almost like a pull, kind of like a calling to the Northwest, where I can't block it out, where I think about it often. And I used to live there before, many years ago, and it wasn't a really good experience for different reasons. But now I'm in a completely different space, almost like I've transitioned or I've evolved. And so this space is complementary. So I was asking about why this is happening right now.
Thank you so much for honoring your space and your feelings. Remember, we are here as a guidance. The truth is that you always have to follow your heart. You have to start trusting your intuition. Seems like it's very important to reach out. There seems that there was a situation in this place you consider moving. There was very painful in the past, but there is like a kind of like a memories that still very nurturing to you, kind of like good memories from the past, almost like a soulmate or soul connection. But this is telling me that there is something to be healed by you going back there in this different mindset that you mentioned. It's going to bring you a lot of happiness and reconciliation, especially an emotional fulfillment. You are from Mayan ancestors from Guatemala. I actually work directly with indigenous Mayan people. Yesterday we did an event about the dead from their cosmology. And this happens with a lot of people who are from mixed lineage, including a little bit of mine, that the elders who are born in their soul mission to guard the wisdom, that's their soul calling. People who are born in the city, that's where their soul is meant to be. Same thing with the lineages. When you have the ancestors from conquistadors or the abusers, or I don't know how to say it in English, and the indigenous people who are suppressed, you have both energies within your lineage, but it is you at the present, accepting yourself, forgiving yourself, acknowledging what they did, but also having compassion. It's easier said than done at the same time. That integration within yourself is going to affect them, because at this moment you're a gift for your lineage. And you feel, I also feel that strongly from, you have spiritual ancestors healers in both, actually, in the Austrian one and the Guatemala. But I'm picking up very strongly that you are meant to be, if it resonates with you, going back to your roots. Have you gone to Guatemala lately, or have you considered also visiting there?
I haven't. Yeah, that's another side of it, of course. I lived in Mexico for a year, in Querétaro, but no, I've never been, and I do feel like I'm dishonoring that side of me because I'm very connected to that culture. So I'm kind of like a fish out of water, if that makes sense. Because, yeah, connected there as well.
No, it's okay, because with you, it's going back to your roots. It's also because now we have a pattern. You see, you're thinking about going back to the place where you used to live, but in a soul level, you're thinking about going back to the place of your ancestors, but it's not connected yet, because you have to accept it. Nobody comes for you. I mean, some people, the spirits push them. You have to do your work, but other people, they have kind of like a space where they can say yes or no, and that will determine the consequence of how their life is balanced. If it resonates with you, I'm picking up strongly, if you choose to go back to the birthplace of your lineage, of your ancestors, just to observe how you feel to be with the culture, because I feel like you come from a lineage, especially in the Mayan part, where they are you got gifted. They're telling me you're gifted. You have a spiritual gift. But when they do offerings, they speak with the land, they talk to the land, they do cleanness, they do prayer. It's in your DNA. And some of your grandfathers, they used to be healers, are asking you for you to step up in a more open way to be who you are. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to become a Mayan, a spiritual leader, Pacolite way, but they're considering opening up the way for you to be more in contact with your birthright, which is all this knowledge. And the fact that you have the Austrian mix together, it's to make like a bridge to your people you're around. You can contact me later on if you want to connect directly with the elders, or a safe place to go, because even in spirituality there's shadows and light. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dovelight. Someone else want to jump in? Okay, great. Ash, go ahead.
Hi, Engelbert. How you doing? You're on mute.
Oh, hello. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I lived in Northern Nevada for 10 years, and I moved to Portland. And
oh, okay.
So I understand the gentle nudges. There was changes in my life in Nevada, and I could have gone back to California and been happy. But Portland would have been a big question mark that would have been left unanswered in my life. So I took the leap, and I made myself some commitments about timeframes, whatnot, to come here and have that question answered. So I do understand the process you're going through. And so I pulled a few cards while the others were providing their wisdom to you. And your intuition is guiding you. You're obviously facing confusion with that. Because first of all, it's a big step, and it's about trusting yourself and trusting your intuition, and that can be scary. But it is nudging at you, obviously, at a volume enough for you to show up here and ask about it and continue to consider it instead of just dismissing it. And so your intuition is guiding you here. And it's if this was a tarot card for your next step moving to Oregon, it would be the Fool. It would be the beginning of a new journey. It's a trust fall. This is the place where you are at right now with this. And taking that leap would be, it will work out. But it will work out in the sense that you will be beginning a new journey and creating something new for yourself. The one piece of advice the cards give is that gratitude will need to be woven in as you begin this journey and go on this journey. That is what will help negate your past experiences, the fears that you face. This taking the trust fall and taking the step of listening to your intuition is a big one, but it'll pay off. That's the message that I'm getting. So step into it is what I'm getting, but see it as a new beginning, a new journey. So step into it as you would if you were out exploring something new. If you were, say, 18 years old and leaving the house and you're like, it's a new world out there, I got to explore all this, there's all this opportunity. With that spirit and with the gratitude that you have this opportunity to work with your own intuition to get this message and to step into it. So I hope that helps.
It has. Thank you all so much. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. We have a little bit more. Are you all right for a little bit more?
Of course, yes.
Okay, great.
I didn't want to take so much time. So
no, that's okay. Yeah, we want to share with you. And I know I have some to share. Does anyone else want to jump in before I go? All right. So I'm reading the energy of your eyes and your face, and I go back, maybe in general, I go back like I can easily see parents and influence of parents generation and sometimes another generation back. And part of what I pick up in your eyes and your face is a bit of a paradox. And I listen to your voice. So your voice and the energy on your face, you seem a bit sad and a bit shy, and like there's some confidence in yourself and what you're up to that isn't here. And at the same time, you have a lot of strength and maybe a bit of power that's in your eyes and I feel in your jaw, your skull. So just there's a lot of capacity that you have, a very you're intellectual and you have an extroverted capacity. That's some big messages to share. And I feel a doubting of that in you. And it seems like I'm imagining it comes from having someone that was oppressing that in you growing up or 2 generations back. I can't quite tell. Did you have a parent that was very strong?
Yeah, I've done some energy work before, and my father was very repressive this way. And so his energy was transferred many times. So when I would have like my aura read, they would talk about this blue color, this really, distinct color that would be around me oftentimes. So it was definitely influential growing up, definitely. And there's been some healing recent history with it. But yeah, definitely you can imagine that Austrian side, right? So very, very direct and very demanding and very hard person in their discipline. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it seems like there's a way that your system is, you got so shamed by him that you curled in and got smaller. And then also there's a way where that's like you're scared of your own strength, you're scared of your own power for fear of being like him for other people. And it's in the way of your voice coming through and in the way of your impact coming through and being available. And the Northwest is filled with some, there are a lot of big organizations, so big, strong, large scale paradigm shifting capacities here. And at the same time, there's a lot of softness and a lot of consciousness. So it's like this mixture. And there aren't as many people that are social in the way that you're social. To me, it's in some ways, it's less about where you are. There may be a place being here, maybe there may be some way that it's of service to you to be here to share who you are. There's some journeying inside and connecting with to me, the healthy anger inside you. Finding a way that you can feel angry in a healthy way. For me, anger is boundaries, yes and no. Yes, I want this. no, that's not for me. It doesn't have to be a big no. Although I think that like in terms of the pendulum, like there's an exploration and like a safe way of like, no, and it's all right to be that big. But for you to discover your safety while you feel angry, I don't think it was very safe around him.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's an important part of you sharing your voice wherever you are. I feel like there's wisdom to come through you. And so wherever you are, that's something that's here to do. And then the Northwest may be a place that you will be able to express, that you have to be able to express wherever you are. The people that need to hear may be here, like those that support you on your journey. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And you've been, there's a spiritual exploration? I don't know, is it metaphysical? Is also a spiritual exploration that's your work? What is? Do you have a sense
I'm
of,
sorry,
what
that
is?
a question?
Yeah, it's more of a question. I feel like that you're like a teacher, that you have a message of some form. What context is it in?
You mean for my work
Your
that
work?
I do? Yeah, so I am a psychotherapist, and so part of what you're experiencing right now in this space is a lot of tiredness too, because we speak often all day, and I noticed throughout the day my voice will tend to connect to one frequency because I speak so much from morning to evening, so it tends to be on the softer side. So there is that side, but definitely the spiritual side is very important to me, and I've noticed that there's just so many signs right now. Someone mentioned earlier that this is a very important time for energy and all of this, and I've been paying close attention, and so that's why I'm here too. So I find that I wear many hats. So the clinical side is one side, but the spiritual side guides me quite a bit.
Yeah, I see you doing less one-on-one work and more group work as you feel more confident and trust your voice more and feel safer to feel that the healthy part of anger. And that, that maybe the community with whom you share initially as you grow is here in the Pacific Northwest. Yeah.
This is wonderful.
Yeah, and that the spirituality combines more in with what you do and the message you share.
Yes, I've had a reading before. They talked about this past life, 5 of them actually. And in each one of those, I was a shaman, or I was a healer, I was a counselor. And I said to them, well, no wonder I'm so tired these days, if I've been in the same field for 5 lifetimes. So it's kind of interesting. The healing work speaks to me quite a bit.
Yeah, great. Great. Well, thank you so much. Does anyone have anything else to share with Engelbert?
I just want
Thank
to say the Pacific Northwest is a good place to be, where you can blend all of those things. You'll definitely find a crowd up here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Yeah, I think 5 of us on the panel are here in the Pacific Northwest. Dovelights in another part of the world. Yeah, great. All right. Yeah, and we have all of the MeWe fairs we do up here in Washington and Oregon. We just had our first fair in Ashland last weekend. And then I'm getting ready to help run the largest fair in Washington this weekend, BEPC. It's an organization that I volunteer with. Well, yeah, thanks, Engelbert, for your question, for letting us support you. Anyone else in line for a question? If you have already paid to get in line to ask us a question, and I have not noticed yet, please do let me know in the chat. The information's right there in the chat. It is sliding scale. It is 20 to 28. You choose how much you want to pay, or $12 for BIPOC folks as a step of making reparations. We'd love to answer a question from someone. It could be on anything. If you have a general question about the occult and the paranormal, we can talk about that while we're waiting for a question. And yeah, we'd love to be able to support you tonight. Oh, you did? Okay, great. Leslie, come on. Do you want to come up on the stage? Turn on your video and I'll.
Yeah, let me get my video. This is my costume for Halloween. I'm still in my costume.
Oh, great. We got your costume. Okay, that's great. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna take it off so you can see me. So
Yeah, I love it. It's great.
Where is it? Don't show the avatar. There I am.
All right. Thank you so much. Do I pronounce your name Leslie?
Leslie, yeah, or Leslie. I go by both. It's
Leslie.
okay.
Okay, great. All right. Thanks for joining us. What is your question?
Well, I'm trying to figure out what's going on in my condo. There was a lot of paranormal kind of activity going on when I was living with a narcissist, and I finally got the narcissist out. And I did some white saging and opening up all of the blinds and trying to get the light in and the fresh air in. And I even did some like cutting cord ceremonies and all sorts of things. And it stopped. But recently it starting up again. And I'm wondering whether or not it really has to do with the narcissist, or if it has to do with, well, it's, Halloween, so it could be others on the other side, trying to get my attention. I don't know. Yeah, and there is a possibility, I think, that one of their family members might have tried to put a curse on me. But I believe I'm more powerful than they are. So it is not going to really affect me. If anything, it's going to bounce off me and go right back to them. But I wonder if it's something I'm just battling and I got to just keep on battle that, if that's what part of this is, what's going on in the condo.
All right. This is a great question. I love it. It's one thing I shared. Did you have a parent that was a narcissist? Parent or a related or some other relative? Is there anyone that could never genuinely apologize and own their part?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So to me, that's all tied in here. It looks like Kai is ready. Go ahead, Kai.
I hadn't thought about that.
Okay, so this is kind of a lot of what I do here. So normally what happens when you have paranormal activity in a space, it could be from, in your case, the narcissist, because what happens is they draw in all kinds of energies to the space where they were, and then, even after they're gone, it's still there, and that attraction energy is still there. With you doing the sage and all that other stuff and driving things out, that's really great. The thing with that is, and I tell this to my clients, and this is what I do for my clients, is you actually need to put up a shield after you clear it out. Because what happens is, when you do a standard clearing with sage, all it does is actually get the things to leave. But what happens is they go next door. And then when the energy of what you've put in there, once it starts to disperse, then they come back. See, so when someone clears the house, like I tell people this, like, make sure you get someone who can take what's there and send it somewhere, like either to God's light or to the earth or whatever your belief system is, so that that particular thing doesn't bother anybody else and it doesn't come back. And so you put a shield around your place so that, the likelihood of other things coming in and bothering you again is not there. And then the other thing you need to do is, once you clear a space, is that you need to call good energy in, because what you've done is you created a vacuum. Once you clear everything out, there's nothing there. There's no energy there. So you want to actually call good energy in to fill the space. So that also is another deterrent for more paranormal, poltergeist activity stuff to show up in your house. That's normally the way I do it. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
All right, great. Thanks, Kai. And it looks like Troy is all set to go next.
Yes, hello, Leslie. So I have a question. about what techniques you've used for clearing before I share my messages?
I've used 2 different types of white sage. One was like a smudging piece, and the other are these cones, like an incense of white sage. Opening up all the windows, saying prayers, keeping the white light in the house, and in me and in the kitties, that sort of thing.
Okay. I'm feeling that's not nearly enough. I'll share a few things. So what I heard right off the bat is you need to do an energetic home makeover. This is not going to be just a little thing. You'll need to probably downsize, get rid of some things, especially things you may have had while your narcissist was living with you, and just get rid of things, replace things, especially get some new items, new metaphysical items, such as crystals or herbs, salts. One thing I recommend after a space clearing, that I'll also explain, is to buy black tourmaline if you don't already have a bunch of small pieces of it. And this is what my guides taught me to do, is put one in each corner. Also, a little piece of black obsidian might help too, but cleanse and charge them first. One in each corner of your home space, in each room too, each corner that you can access. And then after that, for at least a month, I would recommend 40 days though, cast protection using those pieces of tourmaline and obsidian. And what you do is you could just do it in a meditation or visualization, but ground yourself, cast light, and imagine that you're using each of those stones basically as the foundation of a pillar that you set up in each corner. And then you set up the walls of your energy protection between the pillars. And you want to really do this deep work, progressive work, to set up the walls, basically set your own space, especially after some energetic home makeover stuff. And this is a way of owning your space. My guides told me to do this, especially after I moved into my former military barracks apartment that I'm in. And yeah, you want to own your space. Otherwise, if you're not really owning your space as your property, then other beings are basically freely invited to come and go if they think that it's available and accessible to them. One technique I want to share, or a bit of native wisdom too, that my martial arts teacher taught me. He grew up with native tribes on the reservations, and they taught him this, especially in the Northwest. This should be accessible. Is you want to find hemlock and cedar boughs, if you can collect them as fresh as you can from the ground. There'll probably be storms soon this fall, knocking them down. There might be some in parks or something. And you want to find hemlock, cedar, and then you want to have white sage, it sounds like you have. I would recommend also having sweetgrass and Palo Santo. And so what I was told by my mentor is to start with the hemlock, because that's a deep cleaner, not just a cleanser like white sage, but it's a deep cleaner. And you want to use the hemlock boughs to basically as feather dusters to basically sweep every corner, every bit of your space. Dispose of those in a body of water, preferably wild, maybe like a river or a lake. And then go through the house with your cedar boughs. sweep everything the same way. Then after that, you want to go through with your white sage everything, and open the windows too. You want to let the smoke out. Then after the white sage, you want to use the sweetgrass, because the white sage is more of a masculine deterrent, basically, of negative energy. But the sweetgrass, I understand, is the more feminine aspect that is kind of like blessing the space, drawing in positive energy and nurturing energy. Then what I'd recommend, just adding, what I would do is Palo Santo, burning that, smudging your space, because that's also I understand, more of a feminine energy of wood, basically. And so after that, you should be good. And after that, the last thing I would recommend to nail in the last nail is to just spend time meditating. I'd recommend as long as you can, maybe an hour or more. Just set the space to be safe, and maybe turn on some calming music and meditate as you're burning maybe some incense that's pleasant, or a candle. And then just go into a space of white light, or just a white space within you. Calling that in as your safe space and claiming your home that way.
Thank you.
Yeah, not only Reiki practice helped stop things moving in my apartment a while back, but this did too, especially after it seemed that something or someone was messing with my life. And so this works.
Thank you very much. I will definitely try it.
Great. Thanks so much, Troy. We've got Dovelight and then Lorelei.
Hi, Leslie, if I'm saying correctly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. What I'm picking up very strongly here in a soul level, it's that there is a huge lesson, if you will, of believing it. This is all about what you believe. What you believe is possible will be. What you believe is impossible will be. So they're telling me that one of ways to direct the energy towards the highest good outcome will be what you believe about. Seems like the person who just left, it was a soulmate. Perhaps this doesn't mean that it was a life partner, but it was a soulmate. That was a very strong soul connection. There, I can see you through the cards that you were able to get rid of the heavy or negative energy, but there was a part of you, correct me if it doesn't resonate, just throw it out. There was still kind of like waiting for an answer, waiting for a why this have to end up this way, because of the soul level connection. And in a way, the kind of like, it's a little bit like having still a bond with this person, but it was not for the highest good. I was picking up for your highest good. I was picking up very strongly the energy that this person, the narcissist bro, was attracting negative entities or negative spirits. He was attracting it so much because both of you in your own ways are very open spiritually, and you have the free will to choose with what kind of energy you work. So this person was definitely bringing the type of energy. I'm picking up very strongly. You didn't expect this to happen. It's bothering you even a little bit into your dreams. Maybe everything upside down. They're telling me that there is one big removal that is going to take place, and it's like, cut it out, definitely. It's like the final. In order for you to do so, because that's going to end not only the cycle of this energy who is attaching to your home, but it's also, oh yes, because I don't know if your boyfriend was playing with some things that he was not supposed to be playing and calling things that he was not supposed to be calling, because now they're telling me that some of the things came because he was kind of doing something like that. But this cycle, it's over. This kind of portal will be overdone if you do the removal and the blessing. It's going to finish the cycle with this like soulmate and with the energy that's in your body, and it's going to bring you more emotional stability. In order for you to remove this, you have to be able to identify it. So either you work with somebody who can help you trust, or if you feel up to the task, you have to be able to identify it. You cannot remove anything that you cannot know what is it, or or if it's gone. You have to able to feel, to know it. And if this energy can even communicate back, you have to able to, you know, take it out. So first thing is to identify, find somebody who can help you to identify it or identify it yourself, and to remove it out, to send it to the end of the universe, and to the out of the room, out of their body. Now, like almost like an exorcism, but it's not like, not to that level. Like it's not a person, it's more like an energy, but it needs to be removed. They're telling me there will be a successful removal if you choose to do so, because now you're more sure in your power. But it's very important that you have to believe. You have to believe that you're able to do it. That this is gone. It's not gonna come back. You're willing to let that go. You're willing to forgive even, and you will be good.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Dovelight. We've got Lorelei next.
Leslie, I'm curious. You said you lived in a condo. Do you share walls or anything with other people?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, because I'm getting the sense that some of this energy is coming actually from your neighbors. It was originally perhaps drawn to your condo because there were intense energies that it was attracted to. But I'm just feeling like this is something from outside of your place, and you might want to consider hiring somebody to really come in and kind of clear it and actually teach you how to energetically seal it. You've got some great advice from people, but it is something that you don't just do once. You want to continue to do it. Sometimes if you feel like there's something wonky in a room, all you have to do also is just a loud noise will disperse the energy. Before rituals in India, excuse me, I'm fighting a cold, so when they will make a lot of loud, clangy, disorienting noises to scare away the spirits that will find that disharmonious. So sometimes just a loud noise will help disperse that. The other thing that is occurring to me is I'm checking in on this. Doggone it. The evening is like my biorhythms are going down. I think I'm getting a cold. Hang on. So is in the dream time that you're still connecting with this other person in the dream time, and whether you remember it or not, and that connection is also creating some, because you asked about curses, so I don't know, it can, that kind of connection can create a little bit of a wonky platform that we're resting on. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Sometimes I'd have noticed that there were a few times, and I've been doing everything I can to stop that, because it's not what I want. That's for sure.
And you know, the other thing is that I do feel like, you know, as time continues to move on, that will dissipate. And the way I love to also protect the room is just by blessing it and putting some kind of symbol of love or happiness above the threshold, so that it's as if you're saying anybody that comes into this house is going to be blessed with happiness, and they will bless you with happiness. There are fine runes I use for that purpose that are really, really lovely, but you can use any kind of symbol that you'd like. And I liked also what Troy was saying too about rearranging the space a bit, breaking up the matrix, like rearrange your furniture. If it gets really funky in a place, sometimes I'll wash my walls even in salt water, especially I don't know if it depends on your paint, I suppose, too. You don't want it to be too salty, but just something that is, you don't want to leave a residue, of course, but washing the walls, just doing that kind of thing. But also, you know, I think that you are on the right track. It's just there's there is an outside influence that doesn't have anything to do, I don't think, with what your with your narcissist or with anything. Like, it's your neighbors and their energy, and just kind of, but you can keep it out. You know how to do it. You're getting great advice. You've got this. You'll be able to, like, command the energy, and I can already, I mean, I get the sense that you've already been doing quite a bit of that. So
yeah, I have been successful. It's whether I, keep up on it. So I just got to keep up on it and also do a little bit more. Thank you. Hope you feel better.
Yeah. Anyone else want to share? I know I've got some things to share, but someone else wants to go. Oh, Dovelight's got some more. Go ahead, go, Dovelight.
I'm just gonna say that there are things that you can clear because we are living a world of color, vibration, and sound, and that's normal. There are things that need to be clear. We have to clear home, even though sometimes we have to wash the dishes. But the thing that I'm picking up right here, it's very low vibrational, and it needs to be removable. Like it's something like specifically that needs to be removable. So I love all these beautiful techniques to clear, but I highly recommend you to take some action towards that. Don't let it linger in there, and find somebody that you trust. But it needs to be identified, or someone, or even if you can identify it, like, so when it's out. You will feel it, but it needs to be told to be out. Like that's what I'm trying to say. And thank you.
Ashvin?
Well, you've got a big basket of ideas and suggestions there. I think they're great. And the impression that I was getting is that in part, this is an opportunity for you to learn. And then as I heard you speak here, when you were responding to Lorelei, it seems like you're engaged in that. So this is a learning opportunity for you, is what I was getting. And so I agree that it probably would be good, not just from a perspective of you hiring somebody to clear the space, but also learning from them. So I think that'll be a good idea. Do keep some fluorite with you. But the other piece that I was getting ties back a little bit to what Kai had said a little earlier, that when you clear a space, a vacuum is created and you need to fill that. And one of the great ways to fill that vacuum is with your own energy. It's your space. So claiming that can be a fun process. Put on some music that you like and walk through your space and sing and dance and claim, let your energy just flow through you and claim it, and also make some statements that this is your space and that you're claiming it. I hope that helps.
It does. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, I shared a little bit at the beginning, and my answer really goes back to that. It's that a big part of how this narcissist showed up in your space is because you had experience with others in the past. And so you're still carrying some of that energy and the lessons of the others in the past. And that's why there's an opening for things to come back in. And it looked like you had a big and connecting them together. And so you now know, you're thinking of who it was in your life that was narcissistic early on. And it might be some of their relatives too. Usually it gets passed down. And there are different ways, different opportunities for people and how they are with the lessons. It feels like part of yours, you've done great with growing forward and being strong. There's something to being with some of the softness and feeling the pain of the recent person that was in your life and the person that was in your life before, and the pain of the other people not protecting you from them, and the pain that they were experiencing from the other person, and even the pain of the narcissists and what they went through and how they came to be this way. So I'm usually a fan of anger and owning our power, owning our worth, our value before forgiveness. But to me, it almost seems like touching it in a softer way to feel the pain and the hurt that's been there. It feels like that's good for you to have a really integrated experience of setting boundaries now.
This is definitely some of what I've been going through with the lessons that I've been taking from this whole experience, is setting boundaries and what is it called, generational cycles. Yeah, I as soon as you said that, I was like, yep, that's what part of this is, that generational cycle. I'm trying to stop.
Yeah, and it's you knowing your value, you knowing that you're worthy of not having this in your space and eating your space and having to twist yourself, right, to meet whatever this is. I and it's there's a softness that I particularly I imagine that you and I have some similarities, and we both can be very strong and persevere through things, and it can lead to I guess what I'm thinking of is it could lead us to be too brittle or too harsh, to it's not exactly a weak brittle, but it's still breakable. Whereas like the turtle shell, that is leathery, I want the heartfulness mixed in there, the softness and the heartfulness, as well as the fierce, the anger of no.
Okay.
Yeah.
More of a balance.
Yeah, and so it's cleansing their energy, also cleansing the energy of the things in the past, and the lessons that you've learned, and appreciating the strength of who you are and what you've made it through, and yeah, all those things in here.
Makes a lot of sense to me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Anything else they want to share with Leslie? Leslie. Great. Thank you so much, Leslie, for jumping in and letting us support you.
Thank you so much for all your advice and your time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Supporting everybody to learn from your example. Your question. All right. Is someone else wanting to ask a question of the panel? You see that we can address all kinds of different topics. See if anyone else has jumped in. Please, if you have paid to ask a question, please let me know in chat so I make sure to get you up front. You can pay by PayPal or Venmo. I put the information in the chat again. If you need to, you can pay with a card directly to me. We can go into a breakout room. So lots of options. And if we don't have a question emerging from the community too, if any of us have a question we want to ask, we can do that. And see if there's anything else about the theme we want to share about too. If there are any general questions, if anyone wants to let us know those things. Is there anything you all suggest about how the way people respond to the words the occult and the paranormal, and like what we know they really mean, and the way our society responds to them now? And Dovelight, go ahead and jump in. Oh yeah, and then Troy after. Go ahead, Dovelight.
I just wanted to say that spirituality, it's like you can put nothing in a single box. Like it's so free, blessing, diverse. Like it's everything. Like you cannot be close mind to think one thing is supposed to go one way. But I notice here in America, especially in Halloween, the ghosts and things are all about scary or being hunted and fear, which sometimes it can happen. But other things, the poor soul, let's bring some also the compassion. Sometimes the poor soul just want to go home. Like they don't find nobody or anywhere else. They're confused. And it's like if you will find a little viejita, little granny outside, and she's knocking your door for direction. Where is Avenue P or where is downtown? And that's why sometimes I know we have this conception of fear about ghosts or things that we cannot understand, and sometimes they can be from this nature. But if we take a moment to breathe and to feel and to listen, it might just be somebody just need a prayer. If we don't know what to do or what to do, just send a prayer. Send it, like Kai was saying, something beautiful. Send it to the light, send it to the divine, send it to an angel who can actually help it. But prayers are important. Prayers come from our soul, from the non-physical, and these beings are in the non-physical spiritual realm, so one way or another are going to get affected. So next time you see a paranormal thing or anything moving, just take a moment to feel, because perhaps it's somebody who's asking for help. Perhaps it's a trickster. Perhaps something that might not need to be there, but just to have the moment, to don't panic. You remember, you're also a spirit. You're also a ghost. You're inside your body, but you still are one of them. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Dovelight. It looks like we've got Troy and then Ashvin.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that we've had kind of a theme tonight of ancestral issues to heal and generational stuff, and that's come up with me recently too, more than before. I think that's important for everyone too. So maybe we could touch on that, especially as it relates to this paranormal and occult topic as a group. But I also wanted to say I've been thinking about this word occult recently, and it really just means hidden. And that's because for so many centuries now, maybe thousands of years in some places, shamanism and ways of magic and healing too have been misunderstood, sometimes called black magic or working with the devil, or highly feared as if there is something nefarious about it. Normally, that's not the case. And so that's why there has been this, especially in Europe throughout centuries and I know other areas, there's been this need to practice things in the dark at night, sometimes literally in underground tunnels and rooms. And so that's where I believe this word occult comes from, or this need kind of as a practice to make it occult, hidden, so that we're not persecuted for it, but we can still practice our ways.
Thanks, Troy. And then Ashvin and Kai and Lorelei. Everyone has something to share.
I want to piggyback on what Dovelight said. I was literally just having this conversation with somebody about a week ago about what do you do when you run across what people call a haunting, which is essentially a deceased person who might be on your property or might be in your space. And the approach should be compassion. Imagine dying and not realizing you're dead. Imagine dying in your own house and not realizing you're dead. And people are doing things and nobody can hear you, nobody's paying attention to you while you're trying to talk to them. And you've lost concept of time. Fast forward, your stuff is gone. Your room is occupied by somebody else. Maybe the house gets sold. And you're in utter confusion in this state that you don't know what's going on. And you just need some attention. You're trying to figure out what's going on. It can be quite distressing for somebody who has passed away. And in some cases, they will leave the property and roam. And so you've got these roaming spirits, and they don't know what's going on, and they get even more distraught. And they're like, hey, nobody's paying attention, and they could get pissed off. And now you've got them, for lack of better words, haunting people, and people are afraid because they don't know what's going on. But it's just somebody who does not realize that they're dead or what to do. If you ever end up in a situation like that, the easiest thing, you don't have to be a reader or psychic or anything. Going back to what Dovelight said, the easiest thing you can do is you can sit down, and if you want to call it prayer, you can call it prayer, or you can call it whatever you want. You simply ask that the spirit receive help. When you send that out and you ask for help, you can ask for help on their behalf. There are teams of people on the other side who will show up to help this deceased person. It is still going to be a process. This person has to come to a realization that they have passed away. They have to have an acceptance of the fact that they've passed away, which could take them a few minutes, could take them years. And then they have to agree that they're willing to move on. They still are in choice, and they could just be like, no, I don't accept, I'm dead and I'm pissed off, and I'm going to go and turn off lights here and turn it on, off and on. I'm going to knock this stuff off the wall because I'm pissed off and somebody's moved into my house and nobody asked me if that was okay. And you have to have some compassion. It might just be somebody who's having a really difficult time with their own passing. The thing that you can do is sit in prayer and ask that this person receive help. And eventually they will tire of this, and they will come to accept from the guides that help them and say, you have passed away, there is a better option. You can move forward and have your post-life review, and you can choose to live, be born somewhere else to somebody else and have a brand new life. But compassion is a big piece, and just simply calling for help on behalf of that person can help.
Great. Thanks so much, Ash. Kai's got something to share.
Yeah, I just to talk about like a lot of what Troy talked about, in that, when you're looking at your ancestors, because we forget that we have ancestors, right? We always think that, what we have here and now is all that there is, but you came from somewhere and you got more from your ancestors than just your looks or your intelligence or whatever. Like they gave you a lot more. And so when I was doing my own ancestor work, like I had a few that were stuck essentially between living and dying. And I mean, like they've passed, but they haven't gone all the way back to the source. And so a lot of them, they were just like, I'm not ready to go, or I'm scared to go, or whatever. And so what I did is, because I'm a shaman, I can open doors for them and have them pass through. Somebody who doesn't have my abilities can just say, you can just say to the ghost, hey, if you see a light, go to it. It's that simple sometimes. For those of you who can see spirits, sometimes they'll come up to you to talk to you just so that they will ask you to open a door. Because sometimes I've run into spirits and they're like, yeah, I'm happy to go to the light, I just can't find it. And so I will open a door for them. And they will, I mean, I did this one time at a Reiki share that I was at. There was a whole bunch of spirits that came into the room. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's so cold in here. And I said, yeah, because all the spirits are here. And they're like, well, what do they want? And I said, well, they're trying to pass on, but they can't find the light. So I opened up a door outside, and then the room vacated. And then I was watching like person after person going into the light. And sometimes that's all it takes. The other thing to note is, like, I like to watch paranormal investigative shows because I think they're funny. Because for me, I can actually see what they can't see, because the energy of it is actually captured on film, even though there's no actual image. So it cracks me up to watch these people walk through the places and like, we can't find anything. I'm like, dude, if you could see what was standing behind you, you'd pee your pants. It cracks me up. I think that's so funny. But at the same time, as I was thinking about it, I'm like, they're actually investigating these souls that are stuck. They were people at one time. And they're like trying to, they're demanding that they perform. They're, make that thing go off, turn those lights on or whatever. And I'm like, these are people. They had lives. So after that, I was just like, wow, that's kind of cruel. When you think about it. I mean, like if it's an entity, because I can see those too. And I'm like, yeah, well, play with those at your own risk. But if they're people, like that's mean to me. So, I mean, I get the whole paranormal investigation that it's fun, but it's like when you're done, like release people, do something, like help them. That's the way I look at it. So.
Thanks so much, Kai. Lorelei.
So Kai, so I've been feeling kind of like all day long, and now it's kind of hitting me. So I apologize if I'm not able to talk very clearly. One of my pet peeves about watching those ghost hunting shows is they never do anything to help the spirits cross over. It's like, oh yeah, you found one, and you say you're an expert, you're a psychic, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
They just walk away. I'm like, those poor souls. Why did they do that? So anyway, that's one of my pet peeves about those kinds of shows. And it's kind of the whole history of depossession, exorcism is really fascinating to me. One of the things that they used to do when, if you study esoterica, there was a while when, at least in the Abrahamic traditions, they would look at, do people know what I mean by Abrahamic traditions? That's the Muslim, Judaic, Jewish, and Christian traditions. But they saw any possessing spirit as demonic. They didn't see it as a human. And the ideas of the afterlife fluctuated and changed and were so complex over time and history that those all I can think of is that maybe that's why they didn't just have them cross over. But what they would do often is they would put them in bowls or boxes or crystals or other things. They would trap them. And every now and then people will find these, like they will find these wonderful stashes of crystals that have been buried by somebody or put in the cave by somebody, and they're all lined up nice and neat. And you hold them and you go, whoa. Yeah, I'm going to put this down. I'm going to walk away. I'm not going to buy this. And you should, try to help it come out. The problem is that usually after being trapped that long, their consciousness is pretty diffused. And I don't know, maybe now I'd be able to do something. I've come a long way in my practice, but it's interesting. It's fascinating, the history of depossession work.
Thanks, Lorelei. Troy's got a little bit more, and then we've got another question in line.
I could save mine if we want to have it at a later conversation topic.
Is it? Yeah, if it's a new conversation topic, that would be great. Take some notes so we can come back here and then. All right, great. It's a great topic, and we've got so much we can do. All right, let's see. So Irene is next. Irene, I'm going to turn on your video. I'll bring you up here.
If it's okay, I won't show my camera because I have got a migraine tonight and I'm in a dark room.
Yeah, that's
So-
fine. Take care of yourself. Sure. What's your question?
I've also got a cat, so that's sitting with me. So let me know if he's purring too loud.
No,
So-
we can hear you. It's great.
Okay, good. So I am somebody that has had a lot of challenges in life. I grew up in a pretty dysfunctional family and, was always a lot different. So I was really an overachiever after that. I mean, like I did everything to be successful. So I've had a lot of success also, but kind of walked through life with, I would say, somewhat disassociated because you have to protect yourself when you're come from an abused relationship, especially as a child, and just kind of had blinders on. So about 14 years ago, just out of the blue, I had a spiritual connection. Like I had all the dreams, from the spirit world and all of those things. I've always had some of those abilities, but it was just kind of wham, nothing really going on in life. But it's actually been an anchor and a saving grace because that connection it's remained even to this day. It still remains. But at this time, I'm kind of having to deal with myself more, like never knowing the person you are, because when you grow up like that, you just don't have an identity of self. Just kind of understanding who I am, developing spiritually even more. I have a little bit more time because my kids are grown up now, but really, from the spirit world, I'm getting this, message that I need to be working on this because once you get to the afterlife, you're going to be working on it there. If you're not working on it here, you need to evolve as much as you can here. So I just wondered if that makes sense, if anybody has any insight into that, if they can, read anything, feel the energy that I have from this connection, and just any feedback on that would be helpful.
All right, great. It looks like Kai is ready. Go ahead, Kai.
Yeah, it sounds to me like from, what you've been saying, it's like I've been hearing it over and over from several people, including myself. And what's happening is that a lot of the energy around us is changing again. And so where you are is a point where I think a lot of us have come to, which is it's time for shadow work. And what that means is it's time for you to figure out who you are, where you came from, what you want, and do that from an internal process. Like we spend a lot of time looking at things externally, like, oh, this happened because of that, like the cause and effect stuff happens externally, but really a lot of who we are and who we become and what we attract to us has to do with who we are internally and the energy that we have. And so when you look into doing shadow work, which is working with, some people look at it like, working with their evil twin of themselves. I don't look at it that way. The way I did it is I engaged both my lower self and my higher consciousness, and I brought all three of us, myself included, like the ego part of myself, to the table, and the three of us had a discussion about what our priorities are, what we want in our lives, what we don't want in our lives, and getting rid of like old resentments, old grudges, any pain, stuff like that, like working through all that stuff, like working through all the stuck emotions that we had, the collective we, which is me, and just figuring out like what's on my priority list, like what's important to me and why is it important. And was it me who put that there, or was that someone else who influenced me to put that priority there? All that kind of stuff. And once you kind of narrow it down in that way, then things start to become very clear as to who you are, what you want, and who you intend to be for the future. And then you realize that a lot of the weight you've been carrying is gone. That's the whole purpose of shadow work. And that's something I've been working on for the past 6 months. And it's like helped a lot. So that's something to think about. It's not an easy process. I mean, you're looking at the hardest things about yourself, like the things you hate about yourself, that's what comes up. So it's not an easy process, but I just want to put that for you to think about.
Great. Thanks so much, Kai. Is there anything that you wanted to share, Irene, before we go on? Not necessary, just if you want to.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I'll even be like, I'll be irritated or angry with something because, I used to say yes to a lot of things I still didn't want to do. And I'll just even get a message in my head like, oh, that's one of the things, that's not fair to you, and then the realization comes there like, oh, yeah, this is something I put up with for a long time. And, it'll just pop into my head, that's something that needs to change. So I definitely get what you're talking about with that. It's kind of hard not to hold on to living all these years. I wish this would have happened 20 years ago, but it is what it is, now better now than never.
Yep, exactly. All right, let's see. We've got Ash and then Lorelei and then Dovelight and then Troy. Go ahead, Ashvin.
Yeah, it's never too late or a bad time to do some shadow work. It's challenging work, but it pays off big time. So, life can sometimes feel like an Indiana Jones movie, or walking into this cave and walking into nonstop cobwebs, except it's not feeling that exciting. It's it's quite challenging. Shadow work is great. And there are some old methods that have been around that still work, and there's new ones that fall into the category now of therapies. I, for example, have done shadow work in the traditional ways and also through sessions with EMDR and internal family systems, IFS, which has been really good. So there's a lot of different tools out there that you can use, and I highly encourage you to try them and see the ones that work for you. One of the things that did come up as you were speaking, Irene, was a reminder that one of the nice things about tribal cultures and older cultures was they acknowledge the longer cycles of life, death, and rebirth. Some of the lessons do last a lifetime. This is not, corporate quarterly reports where we're so driven by this culture of accomplishments. It's like you've got to do something, accomplish it, fix. Are you done? Are you not? Then okay, you're failing. And life doesn't work that way. Some of these lessons will last a lifetime, and some of these lessons will go on into the afterlife and then continue on into another life or two. And so some level of acceptance and just loving yourself more than acceptance, and being like, well, this is what I have, and I'll continue working through all of this and working with it. But understanding that sometimes we just have to give ourselves more time and be okay with it is also a good reminder. All right, thank you.
Hey, thanks, Ash. Yeah, I appreciate you mentioning some of the modern technologies for doing this. Some of them are even playful. Lorelei's next.
So, I love what I heard you say about acknowledging that death is also a place where the work continues. One of the things in Buddhism that I've learned about, which is another modality that I like to study quite a bit, is having a conscious death, being able to meditate enough, to be awake enough, to be able to have a death where you're awake. You don't think it's a dream, you're conscious about it, and being able to actually have an intentional rebirth so that you're able to pick your next life, your next parents, instead of having your karma just kind of, plop you into the next family. And that might be something to think about when you're looking at different practices. So that's something that you're thinking about. The other thing I want to remind you is, I think Kaya's right. There's so many things changing right now. There's astrological chaos, cosmological chaos. We're getting bombarded with cosmic radiation from outside of our solar system. The particles are heavier, and they influence our weather in our bodies. There are foods in the United States that I think have a lot of toxic chemicals in them, the residues of those. And the more sensitive we get, the less we can tolerate those. And when we're going through what a lot of us call an upshift, or the ascension stuff is affecting us, our diet has to become especially restricted for a while. There's foods like sugars and sometimes breads. You have to figure that out for yourself, but our diet can become quite limited for a while. Often when the change sort of settles, I think that I've found anyway in my life that I'm able to eat those foods again. You have to remember, every second you breathe in, you're creating new cells in your body. Those cells that you're creating are being made at the vibrational frequency, the emotional frequency, the energetic frequency of whatever you're emotionally or cosmologically, whatever you're being exposed to. And when there's a lot of our cells in our body, especially in our nervous system, that are sort of wired at different frequencies, it can feel like a very chaotic sensation inside us. I'm moving my hands up and down because sometimes it feels like the energy is going up and down. Also, women, when we are, I don't know if you're still having cycles or not, but our energy shifts at different times of the month. It'll shift with our cycles. It goes, the first half of our cycle, it'll be up here. The second half, it drops down here to the womb area. And then when we stop having cycles, everything kind of goes, and then we become seers. Yeah, you guys know, I'm there too. So I would really, notice what foods really bother you, and you really have to be a detective in this area, I think. I also find that the micro minerals, especially, I'm always talking about gold, ormus gold, ormus gold, colloidal silver, and copper have the capacity to transmit electrical currents at a much higher frequency than a lot of the other minerals like iron. You want to be careful, of course, not to ingest any heavy metals, but you might want to investigate that as well and see if that helps with some of these changes. And that's all in my notes, I guess. That's it. So, yeah.
Thanks so much, Lorelei. We've got Dovelight and then Troy.
May I ask you if you could repeat your question in one simple sentence, how would you word it?
That's a hard one, but I would just say, just where I am spiritually, I feel like I've been through life like kind of disassociated and blinders on, and then just right now, I mean, I have really asked the spiritual connection and the universe for clarity, for truth, all of those things, because I kind of got to a point where I just didn't know where to go. Even with the spiritual connection and growing spiritually, I just kind of felt like I hit a wall. So I needed some of those things because I really didn't feel like I was objectively in reality. So, and I started receiving those, those gifts of that. So, but it's still kind of hard to see where you are if you really don't have good self-identity, if that makes sense, because that was never developed very well for me. So I'm developing those things at the same time that I'm asking for these gifts. So it's all kind of going together at the same time. I wouldn't say it's a fun place to be in, but it's definitely rewarding.
Hmm. You see, you didn't even tell me your one question yet, but you just talk about the topic. That's what I was saying. No, thank you. No, because I get
Does that make
information
sense? I don't know if I can
No,
put it
no,
in
no,
one
it's okay. It's
question,
okay.
really.
That was exactly what I needed. My high recommendation will be for you to have a soul retrieval, soul of the life retrieval, body spirit reconnection, for help you to reintegrate those different parts that you lost towards the trauma that you're living through. You are a wise person. You have your gift. You can acknowledge your soul know that there is a part of you who didn't grow up having an identity. This is about self-worth, self-value. But if we don't have it, if we're not familiar, we have to, how do I explain it? No matter how psychic you are, how gifted you are, how blessed you are, you don't want to trust yourself if you feel like you're not worth it. Your worth is not worth saying it. If you don't believe in yourself, if you don't trust, you're not confident. So this is why these go hand by hand. I definitely see you being a very gifted person, an advanced person who have to pass through many challenges in order to understand the wisdom and help others. This is what they call the wounded healer. This is definitely about being able to work to God. Something that Ashvin said, and it's been resonating a lot in my head since I hear you speak, is that you are where you're meant to be right now in your life at this moment. Because if you were supposed to be doing something else, you will be doing something else. So even Louise Hay got her whole big company and with Hay's house and everything at the age of 50. So they're telling me now, stop comparing yourself. Please be inspired by others, but the divine wants you to be here, to be exactly the way that you were meant to be, because you are worth it. You were beautiful. And the wise divine, it created the whole universe and planet. So I'm not going to question its logic. And they wanted you to be here the way that you were meant to be here. So we have to work also in the comparison or with expectations. They're talking about divine synchronicity. You have to trust them. They're listening to you. They're listening to your prayers. They're listening to this desire to grow and overcome. But the way it's going to be, it might not look the way that you wish to be. We don't came to this world to walk over water necessarily. We came here to master love in their different ways, to love ourselves, to take care of ourselves. One thing is to say, I love myself. And the other thing is actually have the action towards. Are you eating breakfast? Are you sleeping your hours? How are you talking to yourself in your mind? If you are able, when you feel ready, to be willing, they're telling me, if you're not willing to see yourself at the mirror and really see yourself as worth living for, as worth loving for, and you can start little by little bit, this is when you are accepting your spiritual gift. This is when you're accepting your calling. And this is when you're accepting your path. Any type of shadow work, it's life work. You're not going to survive it without compassion, or it's going to be harder. I think cases in myself as well. When you go deep into the wounds and you don't have any support, or you don't have any balance within your field or community or somebody that you trust, what you're going to do, you're going to spend time in depression or angry with yourself or even harming. You don't want to get to that point. So yes, you are a healer. We all are healers. We have the ability to heal ourselves. But when we're talking about not having an identity, that means that we might have self-destruction patterns. And we have to be honest, some of us at our point of our life need a guidance, somebody we can trust to help us out of our own circle that's in our own mind because we didn't know any better. Sometimes they're telling me about perception. It's very important. When we grow up in a certain way and we think the same outcome is going to be the way because it's always been the way, we close ourselves to the infinite of possibilities. You do have an infinite of possibilities. You have a future when you can be happy, when you can be proud of who you are, when you can be confident. But you have to willing to accept that, even if it's little by little. If say good morning to you, you have to willing to accept that nobody's going to do it for you. But Very, very is good. The last thing, not least, because the paper, please call upon your angels. Know that they're for you. They're going to start sending you synchronicities and messages you are going to be able to understand in this process. Okay. Thank you, everybody, and good luck.
Thank you, Dovelight. Troy is next.
Hello, Irene. Strangely, I just pulled a long black hair off of me. I don't have people. It's been a while since I had a person with long black hair in here. It's probably from them. I didn't know there were any left in here, but anyway. So yeah, Irene, I got some things for you. The first thing that I heard that will help you is red ruby. I don't know if you have some currently, or perhaps you could acquire some. That's what I felt would be good for you for grounding. Or your guides told me that. I also was hearing that there's a lot more for you to explore and discover within your gifts. And that is where you'll be going. It sounds like you're already on a path of spiritual awakening. And they just said that there's more. One of the things that they recommend practicing is automatic writing, because in the future, and this is what I was getting, that you'd also be practicing after your mortal body ceases to function, is conveying messages for the healing of people who are specifically grieving, and also people who've experienced trauma or in fear. And what they want you to be doing with that, with automatic writing and conveying messages in the rest of your life in this body, is doing that work, especially as we're moving out of this recent pandemic. A lot of people have been en masse lied to and manipulated, and some have been traumatized. Many have been traumatized. And many people have lost loved ones for different reasons, but partly from the pandemic. There are a lot of people who have been grieving and are grieving and will need your assistance, and you'll be guided to work with them. Also, the other thing they said is important for you in this healing journey. I was getting that your particular traumas and stuff you've dealt with is what you'll be learning to heal, move on from, and use that knowledge and wisdom, especially to help others. And to help with that, they recommend looking forward instead of looking back at what has happened, but really practice looking forward at where you want to be in your life, and looking forward at the goodness and good that can be yours and that you can accomplish and all that. Of course, gratitude is a part of that. Gratitude is a powerful force. So that's most of what I have. Do you have any questions about that, Irene?
Just the red ruby you're talking about, like a gemstone?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that's what you were talking about. So yeah, I really do. I have all kinds of different gemstones, so I will look for that. That's good knowledge. And I appreciated what everybody said, that everything resonates. So it's great feedback. Thank you.
Great. And I've got a little
Glad I
bit
can
too.
help.
Yeah, go ahead, Troy, if there's any finish up. Anything to finish?
Oh, yeah, I'm just saying glad I can help and convey these messages.
Great. So just a little bit more. So I feel like part of your journey here in continuing to integrate and move through things is to playfully take up space and be loud, and learning to be in your body while you do that. I don't think that there was as much opportunity for you to play and be loud. It was not safe. So I imagine you doing what I call like conscious ranting or having a tantrum, but like a safe tantrum where it's safe in your body. So like imagine you in a swimming pool, like splashing loudly, and splashing everywhere, and the bang of your hands on the water and the sounds, and You know, it can be if you, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. I imagine this would be good for me too. Like if you can float a little bit, like splashing with all parts of your body, or quacking and flapping your arms, or honking like a goose, or, you know, and it could be that there's something that you play that honks that's loud too, in a place where it's okay that you're loud, in a place where people aren't going to complain, where you can allow yourself to really feel into the taking up space and being loud. So sound space and physical space. And yeah, learn to feel yourself while you do it. It might be a practice of learning to get louder and bigger and to be able to stay in your body. And the tantrum, so it's doing it in a way that's safe and friendly to your body. Ideally, like there's some soft, fluffy kind of place where you're really safe to roll and writhe and you know, so sound through your voice, you know, making sound through your mouth and your throat, and allowing your throat to be open. And sometimes it can require a little bit of an artificially kind of something to get yourself started. You might want to think back to things that you feel upset by or frustrated by, or like I was a little kid, I used to suck my thumb. So anything that takes you back to that time, and it's okay to do those things to put you back in that place. The things that you were angsty and upset about that you didn't know how to be with when you were little, where you didn't get a chance to express. And it could be something even more recent too. We go back to like a childlike expression of it. Yeah. Yeah. And I say, and a conscious rant is related. It's different. It's allowing yourself to be upset about something, to say the things that are there, to know that you might say them more extremely than they are, as a way of getting fully expressed and getting everything out. I don't really pick up that there's something that you're upset about so much as, but getting into this open place and this open expressive place might allow more things to show up too. Is this, I had a hard childhood also. Is any of this resonating?
Yeah, I really think that being in your body is, because I will even now, you can feel when you're in your body and you're kind of present. And then I'll even have like a shift where I feel like I'm not, you know, I mean, still you just coming back into reality, I think that's become more real. And in some ways it's good, because when you're kind of disassociated, I don't feel like you're ever very happy, and you're always, you know, it's always fight or flight. But when you're in your body too, there's a certain vulnerability that you have. So working between those though it, you know, it just depends on the day, I guess, as to how that goes. But it is very much resonating with me. And then just being able to be who you are and have a voice, that was always, of course, hard, because when you're not really allowed to have a voice, or you're not valued to have a voice, it's a whole different story. No matter how much you work on that or try to change it, you physically have to do something. I agree with that. And sometimes I'll just have a rant about a very small thing, and I try not to do that very often, but it's not really about that thing. It's about being able to express how you feel about something. So yes, it is very much resonating with me. So
that's great. Yeah, and I said the splatting on the water, or like throwing water up. Part of what's nice about water is there's nothing to clean up. So another way you could do it is like inside like packing material and literally like picking it up and throwing it. It's just that there's something to clean up afterwards, so it's not quite as releasing in that way. But allowing you to make mess, and that it's okay to make a mess. You know,
yeah.
so else, yeah,
Even doing something physical.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting back, I used to do a lot with art, and now I'm getting back into that. So even that place of creating something for me is very, like, it brings me back into who I am in many ways.
Yeah, great. Great. All right. Anyone have anything else to share with Irene? Thank you so much, Irene.
Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome. All right. Let's see, Troy, I know there's something else you had wanted to share. And so probably that'll be if there's anything else we want to say about that, and then we'll probably close up for the evening. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Troy.
so this could be a bit of a conversation topic for us the evening, I suspect. It just came to my mind. I don't actually keep up or watch the mainstream news anymore. It's just often too dark and too much for me. I do so much to maintain my own peace and my own energy, but I do know that there are some wars going on. Some people are saying they're on basically an assault or on the level of the holy wars. And of course, we all know about the Ukraine war that I believe is still waging on. And so some people are also saying that that is partly human sacrifice and dark spirit magic stuff. I don't want to make too much claims, but I know that there's a lot of dark energy being created from these wars and a lot of change. And so perhaps just for the purpose of this talk about occult and magic, I'd like to hear what everyone thinks about all of that, and not only about your opinions and perspectives on these wars and conflicts we're seeing, but what we can do about it, either individually or collectively, and little things and big things too. Maybe we could even have a panel on that. That's like, I think, a big topic that might not ever end anytime soon.
Yeah, thanks, Troy, for bringing up some of what's right here, right now, today. I say not just across the world. I think that so much is happening right here too. And I say it's like a mixture of people not knowing how to share, not being willing to share, taking or giving things that are not theirs,
Yeah,
taking away from here and in the other places that you mentioned. So
yeah,
all kinds of
definitely.
things that are
Even beyond the wars, like in the Middle East region, there's still civil wars in the Congo that are forcing refugees into Kenya and Uganda that I know, with the people I'm in touch with. And I don't hear that being reported on so much, but that's happening. And yeah, that's creating a lot of change in people's lives. And another topic, I think I was talking about this on a panel, I was talking about it with someone, that there's so much, no, it wasn't on one of these panels, it was in a different group, but there's so much that the mainstream news is constantly telling us, especially about the wars and crime and conflict, that people get so desensitized, I feel, just by watching it all the time, and they are conditioned to just watch it and not be told that they can do anything about it or what they can do. And so that's what I want to start kicking up a conversation about, is not just that this is happening, but little things that any of us could do about it, or even bigger things. Not just casting positive intention or wanting the wars to stop, but maybe fundraising or coming together and doing some sort of collective efforts to help others, even refugees. And so, yeah, that's a topic too. Maybe we could talk about for a bit, is what we can do to empower ourselves as really powerful souls from what I know as the creator or the source, or God, and not be silent, not be passive, and not put up with what the establishment is giving us, but create the world that we want to. And so I can mute myself for a little bit, but I'd like to talk about that, especially as it relates to occult magic or any magic.
Yeah, we've got a few more minutes. Thanks, Troy. Lorelei, and then Kai, and then Dovelight.
So the way I view human consciousness, and this is a very magical concept that goes back thousands of years and lots of ancient grimoires, but when human beings think about something with a lot of emotion, there's a kind of crack that opens up between the creator, between creation and this realm. And what comes through is a sort of, I'm not sure what it is, but it's almost like a plasma. It's a very dense energy that can have a quality that's either very divine or very rough. If you think of a room that you've gone into that has had a lot of emotion in that space, you can feel the tension. The energy is so goopy, you want to cut it with a knife. That energy doesn't necessarily dissipate on its own, and over decades, over long periods of time, it accumulates. And that energy also has a kind of weird sentience to it. Sentience meaning that it's aware of itself and it wants to continue to survive. This is how the idea, I think, of demons actually gets created, which is a really interesting topic to me, because it's, if you look at demons, they're created through the thought forms of deities. They're thought forms of humans. Most of what people are afraid of, I believe, are actually our own thought forms manifested by this creative energy. And no, it doesn't have a soul, it's different. But if, and I'm trying to speak really quickly about a very long-winded topic, but now imagine, okay, that you have this capacity to bring through this creative power. It's very unique to humans. And I mean, as opposed to the other life forms on the planet. Now, imagine that you have billions of people focusing on a topic with a lot of emotion. Where does that energy go? It is in what I call the thought form realm. It might be the astral realm. In Asia, they talk about these as being black dragons, these thought forms that are fed by the evil intentions, thoughts, and deeds of human beings. So it is like this big, and I've had meditations where I've seen mind streams where there's like rivers of people kind of going, and it does look very serpentine-like. It's a thought stream. So I think about that right now. It's like, gosh, yeah, this is the thoughts that are bound together. And this is not a new idea. This is ancient. Another word for it is the morphic field, the noosphere. It is something that mystics have noticed over and over and over again. So how do we create, I think sometimes how to create a different sort of dragon, a different sort of thought form, a different thought realm that we can focus on rather than that one. Because I want you to think that every time you look at something on the internet and you have that really negative response, I think of it as feeding that thought form, feeding that dragon, because it doesn't matter. I love to use Trump as a great example. Whether you like him or don't like him, the same emotional response gets activated in people. They get angry, either in defense or they're offended by him. So when you have an emotional reaction, you're feeding that dragon, that thought form. And there's a part of your mind that's actually connected, like little particles of it that get connected. That's how chords get created, is when there's a lot of emotion that gets fed to these ideas or to these people. And I probably should stop. I'm sorry, I'm going on and on and on. I'm very passionate about this particular topic, but creating a new idea, a new thought, something that creates a beautiful idea field that we can tether to. And I'm not sure what would be the anchor for that, but that would be, I think it's really important. Yeah. Anyway.
That's great. That's great. Thanks so much. Yeah, you're passionate, and yeah, that was great. Kai's next. Kai's laughing also. It's good. Laughing in a good way.
Yeah, it's like you're cracking me up. But along the same lines of what you both talked about is one of the things that I was working on. I had a conversation with a friend about these universal cosmic type energies, and like I absolutely agree with Lorelei that it is something that is being fed by us on a regular basis, intentionally or not intentionally. It's all kind of accumulating. And to speak to Choice point about what do we do about it, I'm like, my expertise is energy. So are you going to see me marching out in the street with a sign? No, that's never going to happen. But will I send energy towards something? Will I encourage other people to send energy towards like helping something in particular? Absolutely. The other thing that I noticed when I was looking at cosmic energies is somebody had said something about we talked about misogyny and how it is like been pervasive all through history. It pervades lots of cultures and it's been around a long, long time. And I thought, I wonder if there's a frequency of energy of that. And I went looking for it and I found it. So the thing that, so I'm assuming that if, you know, energetically we went to search for the frequency that feeds into the war aspects of our planets, I'm sure there is one. And for me, what I would do is, you know, to counteract that, and again, Lorelei, you talked about having an anchor point for that. I'm not sure how that would be, but as an individual, what I would do is send the highest frequency that can neutralize that energy from my perspective. And if, you know, we could do that collectively, then that would actually lend more power to it. So that's what I would do. That is my contribution. You know, other people may find other ways, like, you know, they may protest, they may, you know, enact bills, they may, you know, send aid, they may do, you know, everybody has to find their own way of contributing to whatever they're doing. But for me, as an energy healer, my expertise is energy, and that's what I would do.
Great. Thanks so much, Kai. Dovelight.
Sí. Life goes in cycles. This planet has gone in cycles. Regeneration, death, destruction, construction, and birth. We cannot take for granted the power that we have given to be here at this planet. We talk about the chakras, about the levels, about dimensions. There is not only heaven and earth, there is many multi-dimensions, multi-universe, multi-beings within this planet. That's why it's so important. But it is also many dimensions, multi-universe within ourselves. The gift that we have allow ourselves to feel. This is a gift to think. It's a gift to touch. It's a thing to be blessed. It's a gift. Do not take for granted the ability that you have to smile at somebody, to be kind, to move forward with your dreams. So much as that. Imagine if the human body, one little cell that is meant to protect you from COVID or from a cold, will say, oh no, maybe I cannot do enough. I'm only one little cell. Wash. No, maybe let me back up. What if they start thinking that way or start feeling that way? How will they going to group together? If sometimes it feels like we are attacked by everything, sometimes we feel like, what am I doing? This is crazy, or where did I sign up to be here? But in reality, there is a part of us who is eternal, which nothing needs to be saved. At the same time, with this war is going crazy. It's happening at the same time because we cannot logically, as the human mind, it's a spiritual. It goes beyond that. So when we're talking about the news, for example, we don't have control of how much all that, but just know that sending a prayer at the moment, sending a light, even if that happened a few days ago or last week, if you're sending that light, perhaps this beautiful prayer that's always here by spirit will help somebody to survive, or will help somebody to be found by the firemen, or so, because that goes beyond time and space. You are changing this planet by the way that you choose where to use your money. You are changing this planet when you're choosing to do a sacred reciprocity to your spiritual traditions, to the food that you buy. You are changing this planet when you decide to forgive someone. Some of us here are born with a high frequency that they only need to be in a place to change the frequency. You're not even, because we're not doing consciously. It is our soul, our spirit. You're going to sleep, it's cleaning the waters, it's changing, it's cleaning the places. And that's something beautiful, that we all have a soul purpose. When you are willing to connect with your soul purpose, you're going to change this planet. Some of us are meant to be lawyers. Some of us are meant to be spiritual, and some of us are meant to, like Kai was saying, go out there. Some were born in the jungles to protect it from the fire. Some are born in your neighborhood to open a daycare so they can take care of the kids. Do not take for granted the gift of life. And when everything feels overwhelming, go back to your soul, go back to your spirit. It will guide you where to go, how to go. One of us cannot save the whole planet. It's impossible. But many of us, in our own way, we choose to connect it. We can also, they're telling me, you cannot change somebody who has already a set up mind, a closed mind. We cannot force nobody to do love and lies all the time. We were never meant to be all at the same level of consciousness also, all the time. So what we can do the best you can, so you can influence others without wanting it. Just people might be looking up to you without you realizing. Children might be looking up to you, or you might inspire somebody, and that's a lot. So it's not only about our ego, also that we have to be something or do something specifically. Just have to trust the process, trust divine timing, and you will take divine guided actions. Easier said than done, because trust me, we can feel the sadness, we can feel what's going on in the world. At this moment in this planet, there is a high level of slavery, human slavery, to trafficking of children and women for sexual abuse and organ, more than ever in history, and nobody's talking about it. And that can break your heart. How can someone do that? But again, the fact that you're here, the fact that you can help some way in your community, even cleaning beaches, helping an orphan, doing something, you're doing a lot. But that's what I wanted to say. Also, last thing but not least, please, one of the things that humanity forgot in this generation, and they're getting it, new souls are being born knowing it, is reconnect to your soul, reconnect to the cycles of nature, giving and receiving, taking in, bringing back. Is very important at this moment, because when humans understand, they're going to be in the last moment when there is no water to drink. And many of the indigenous elders are saying this today. When humans understand that they cannot drink their money, they're going to start waking up. And we're like children sometimes, or teenagers. You tell them, no, that's not the way it's supposed to go, and they still do it because they're meant to understand it that way, unfortunately. So just to summarize, do not get overwhelmed, even though it can be overwhelmed for empath and sensitive people. Just go back to your soul, go back to your trust, go back to your faith, and you will take divine action where you need it. Because we're not meant to be saving everybody. We're meant to be going to the souls that we are meant to be going with at the moment and place in our life. I hope I'm making some sense. Thank you.
You're totally making sense. I appreciate how passionate everyone is and how everyone brings their perspective to how to be with everything, including this. Anything else anyone wants to share? Bringing an exciting topic, Troy.
I just want to say
exciting,
thank
and
you.
it's mobilizing energy. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Dovelight. It helped me a little bit. I needed to hear it again. When you said that everyone is at a different level of consciousness, at a different frequency, and in different cultures too. And so yeah, we are all different, and we don't need to make everyone else change or anyone else, but just be ourselves, be our souls. And I love that. That's another point I had, but it escapes me right now.
Yeah, floating, it'll come back. Yeah, I just said no this morning to doing consulting work on a project that would put more plastic in the world. So all these different ways that we say no and yes to what we believe in, how we can say no and yes to what we believe in. Go ahead, Dovelight wants to jump in, or?
I want to say something very important, because I know people will watch this recording. Something that it's been bothering me so much with indigenous people is that a lot of people do retreats and they do courses online, and I'm not lying, they take 90%, 80% of this tribe, and when we talk to the elders, they don't speak English, or they're in so dire need that they just take in. And those come most from the Western, from Europe, from the USA, from Canada. So that's another way to change the world. Like, please be conscious. Don't be afraid to ask how much the people or the indigenous people, in this case, because it's related to them, elders are actually gaining. And don't be afraid to talk to them directly. Nobody brings this awareness because they think, hey, let me just go to spiritual retreat. Yeah, we're gonna receive a clearing from this shaman and all that. That they don't know what's happening behind the scenes. And sometimes it looks pretty on the outside, but in the inside, you don't know. And I've been very passionate about bringing it up and helping the elders to be more independent, just because I feel like that's another way of robbing them and taking advantage. And a lot of comes from foreign, from people from USA or Europe, from outside. And it brings me so much anger. Like, why? You basically do what you used to in the past, but now in the present, in a different form. I cannot judge. I cannot judge. I'm only human too. Jesus.
Oh, well, thank you. Troy, go ahead again.
Yeah, the other point or question I had is, I've been dealing with this a bit, and I think we're just observing it in the world. The thing we're observing, I think, during these change period times, to prepare us for the next step in our planetary ascension or growth, is that we're seeing the shadows of everyone individually and some collectively coming out more than ever before. And we're seeing that with this recent war that broke out in Israel and all the other stuff, little stuff like the people who are inappropriately bombing this group, and other Facebook groups have been managing too, or have been involved with, have been getting like a sudden basically tsunami of, like, I'll say it, just porn links and like really graphic stuff that just gets posted. Some fortunately has been instantly held back by Facebook for review, but some of it still gets through. And so this is kind of a new thing. I think that this is a challenge for humanity, especially with this pornographic stuff, for us to collectively and individually, some of us, some of them, work through our root chakras and sexual energies, as we, I think it's going to be the step-by-step progression of these things coming out as we deal with our shadows. And so the question I guess I have is, how do each of us light workers and old souls, what are some ways that we can stay grounded, stay sane and safe and sovereign in these change times? We're not responsible for these shadows of other people who are coming out, but maybe even something some of us are doing or can do, but especially just staying safe and protecting ourselves as we have to witness some of this going on. What are your thoughts on that?
And I'm going to have that actually, Kai, go ahead. And then mostly this is going to be a question that we're going to leave in the air for another panel, because we are here towards the end. So go ahead, Kai.
Well, my thought on that is, I think, energy-wise, it's like there's a cork that popped somewhere and people just kind of lost their minds in a lot of ways. And as far as us protecting ourselves and what do we do, I think we come back to the topic of fear. And that is that we need to continue to stand in a place of strength and love and confidence. And, because that the shadow part of ourselves, that's what it's based on. A lot of it is based on fear. And so if we want to spend most of our time counteracting all the shadow around us, like, we do that by keeping ourselves as close to our center of light and love as we can. I mean, we're not perfect, and it's not something that we can like maintain 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but do your best in that respect, and then spend time with other people that are doing the same. And it's like, as shadow people who work with shadow energy get together and they get stronger. People who are of the light, they work together, they get stronger. And so that's really what we can do, I think, to protect ourselves, to kind of keep things going, and to, kind of, I guess, help balance that out. Because, I mean, with all the shadow stuff that's happening, people are really just kind of balancing themselves. They're releasing things, but they're not doing it in a controlled way, I think, is what it is. It's almost like, yeah, like you pop the cork and you're just pouring everything out and everything's just kind of rolling everywhere. Whereas, like, when we try to do things, we try to do it in like a controlled, less chaotic way. But other people don't have that. They're just like, I just need to get it out, and it just goes everywhere. It's like, you spilled paint everywhere. So I think that's what we do, is just kind of keep it together, do the best we can, maintain the light as much as we can, and until people work their stuff out in whatever way that happens.
And I want to mention too, your event special, I just put it in the chat again, 20% off your audio course of protecting yourself with energy. And Dovelight wants to share something too.
Wait, what am I hiding if I'm here? It's okay. What has worked, I've been phases in my life when I have panic attacks, fear to the greatest degree, fear for everything, horrible, not believing in myself, not believing in God, not believing in anything. And what has helped me generally into this day and for the rest of my life is to connect to the source of unconditional love. Either you call it God, the goddess, Buddha, creator, the divine light, my chicken, whatever you believe and and you genuinely, sincerely allow time to connect, you ask them, it will help you. The source of unconditional love is unconditional love. Love every single thing, one of their creation. We have consequence for our action. That's our personal soul journey that we have to balance, or what we say pay or karma, but it's actually checks and balances with your soul. But the source of unconditional love, freaking love everything unconditional, no matter what you did, no matter how you look, no matter nothing. It loves us so, it's beyond my human comprehension how much they bless and love us. Sometimes, whatever you're spiritually gifted or not, if you are willing to have a connection with that feeling, with that energy that never left you, that is still within you, it will protect you, it will guide you, it will send you the right people. If there is something that is not going in your life, it's because it was not meant to go, or you were meant to be growing from it. Everything start aligning for your highest good because you trust it. No matter how ugly, how horrible it looks outside, no matter how, you know that you are loved. You are loved and you're worth that love, and that love will guide you. That has been working for me more than anything. I tried so many things. Coming back to my connection to the divine, to the creator, to God, even though God can be a trigger word for many people, and it was for me. But going back, it's like I trust in my life completely now. Like, I'm learning how to surrender and trust. Like, they will provide, they will guide me. They will know what I'm meant to do, even if I resist what I don't think is what I wish. But it's basically being home in this planet. That has worked. And pray, and please let me know. Don't forget to ask for help and believe that you will receive it at divine timing. You will receive it for your highest good. Sometimes we don't ask enough for help. Please guide me, please protect me, please remove people that are not meant to be in my life, please send me a new job, please make me a millionaire. Trust me, if it's meant for you, it will come for you. But you trust that you are unconditionally loved, and it will happen. That has kept me grounded, safe, deep, calm, and everything in many ways. Like, I could not live without that connection. Well, I will be dead. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Dovelight. All right. Well, let's see. So very exciting topics. I took a bunch of notes as themes for new panels. I think some of you would like to be on them. Lots to share and lots to say. Well, I appreciate everyone being here tonight as we explored the occult and the paranormal. Thank you, everyone, for asking questions and allowing us to support you. Thank you, panelists, for being part of the experience and sharing your wisdom and your insight and allowing us, all of us together, to have a panel and to gather as community. Let's have the practitioners go around again and share who they are and how you can find out about them and what their specials are, etc. And I'll be putting their information in the chat again. And there's also a feedback form if you're willing to share your feedback with us for tonight and give us your email address. We'll put you in a drawing for a free 30-minute session with one of us of your choice. All right, well, maybe let's wind around the opposite direction that we did before. So I think it was, who did we go? Was it Dovelight and then Troy and then Ashvin and then Lorelei and Kai, I think, the other way around. So go ahead,
Yeah.
Dovelight.
I'm Dovelight from DovlightOracle.com. You can find me here, and I am so grateful to the angels, the archangels, the ancestors, power, animals, spirit plants, the aliens, the star beings that work with us, for us, and guide us for our highest good, because I will not be able to do this work, the level that I'm able to do so under that divine guidance without them. So I love you very much. Thank you all. And find me at DovlightOracle.com. I have a coupon for holidays for 20% discount, any reading and energy healing. Now, good night, everybody.
Thank you, Dovelight. And I got that order a little mixed up, but yeah, it's going to be Troy and then Ashvin and then Kai and then Lorelei.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Troy J. Bacon. My practice is called New Being Hypnosis. That's where I do hypnotherapy and energy healing. I might soon rebrand it as I'm thinking either New Being Energy Medicine or my Blue Phoenix guide is also nudging me something else. But anyway, I'm focusing more on energy medicine. I do Reiki, kind of my own version of Reiki with an energy portal that I bring in from another world. And that is kind of like an initiatory process too, I've figured out. I do that in multiple phases, steps along the path, sessions, and depending on what the person needs. So that's very personal too. Anyway, New Being Hypnosis, how you can find me. I also offer by donation psychic and rune and oracle card readings. And I am so glad to be here and be part of MeWe. Thank you, Lorelei.
Thanks, Troy. Ashvin.
Well, I want to thank all of the attendees and the questions. It's been wonderful. I want to thank the panelists. These have been great conversations. And Lorelei, I want to thank you for putting this together. My name is Ashvin. You can find my website online at cupoflight.xyz, not .com, cupoflight.xyz. I offer one-on-one intuitive and coaching sessions. I also offer one-on-one energy work. And I also offer that for your beloved non-human beings, your kitties and your doggies and everything else, and everyone else that you have in your life. I also offer for those who may not have the time to sit down with a one-on-one, I do offer group sessions that are remote that are healing circles where you could send me a request through my website and I include you in the meditation that I do for healing energy work, so you don't have to be present on any calls or anything. And I am offering a 50% discount off of all of my sessions. You can find them online. And if you get to me tomorrow sometime, we can go ahead and lock that down. And I thank you all once again.
Thanks, Ashvin. Kai is next, and then Lorelei.
Hi, I'm Kai Bertrand. I am a Hawaiian Kahuna, which is the Hawaiian version of a shaman. I'm an author, a mentor, a speaker, and my specialty is clearing negative energy from people, places, and things. So yeah, I do house clearings. I have done when I do fairs, like I'm going to be at the Bowling Fair this weekend. I'm going to be doing psychic readings with cards and oracles. I'm also doing aura clearings and the other thing, energy healing. It's late, man. I'm tired. And so that's what I'm going to be doing this weekend. But I also do ancestor connections as well. My website is handsonfire.buzz, where I write a bunch of articles on different topics that you might find interesting. So, if that's something that you want to learn more about, I talked about some stuff about shadow work and demons and all that kind of stuff that I mess around with. So you can check that out on my website. And I do have a special for 20% off my audio course on protecting yourself with energy. So thanks for coming, everybody. I appreciate it.
That's great. Thanks so much, Kai. Yeah, so you're going to be at the BEPC Conscious Wellness Expo and Gem Show that's in Kent in the Seattle area this weekend. And Lorelei.
I will also be at the fair this weekend, I'm going to take lots of immune boosters between now and then, for sure. My name is Lorelei Hewitt. I'm a modern mystic that practices ancient Nordic shamanic traditions. And I do a lot of the typical shamanic stuff, typical being in our community is typical, with spirit release work, curse unraveling. I also teach mediumship, and I teach meditation, as well as St.A.A.R.R, the staff wielding work that I do. Sometimes I have high seat ceremonies with the MeWe fairs. Those are fun. So my website is modernmystic.me, and I'm also offering a 50% discount if you just let me know that you saw me here, and I'll give you the discount. And I think that's it. I know my dog is reminding me I forgot to feed him before we started this, so he's been barking. Oh,
so cute.
He's so cute.
But yeah, we're going to get to him soon. To some of our upcoming events, there's a link in the chat to the BEPC Conscious Wellness Expo and Gem Show. That's this weekend, November 4-5, and then November 25-26. MeWe has a Metaphysics and Wellness Fair and Gem Show in Linwood in the Seattle area, and then December 2-3, we're going to be in Eugene again. It's in the same building as the holiday market, so it's going to be a great, busy, big fair. And then coming up online, we have a metaphysical singles mingle. Friday, November 10 online. We do have one at the BEPC Conscious Wellness Expo also this weekend, I think Saturday at noon. So Friday, November 10 online, and then Saturday, November 11, we have an energy, intuition, and metaphysics practice circle. So it's an opportunity to practice your gifts with your peers. And then Thursday, November 16 in the evening, we have get coaching and mentoring for starting and growing your intuitive business. And November 18, we have an online fair. So there's a lot going on online as well as in person here in the Pacific Northwest. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here together. I say I'm Lorelei Shimayo. I'm an intuitive eye reader. I'll put my information in the chat too. And yeah, I've got a special that's in the chat as well. But really, I'm here to support the community and all of us together, and I'll be sharing my work at the BEPC Conscious Wellness Expo too. Thank you, everyone, so much for being together, and practitioner for sharing about this theme. So exciting. Thank you, all of you that ask questions, and we all get to do this together as a community. And you can find out more about all of our events at mewefairs.com, MEWEFAIRS.com. And the recording.